I wanted to have him with him. I wanted to get married to him. Like I said, I've been with him since I was 18. I love him. Any man that I ever talked to know that I love him. And obviously ain't no man gonna be included in it because I haven't tried to even get into a relationship because I know I'm still hung over him.
When you talk about a messy situation, this definitely fits the description. For this couple, this wasn't their first rodeo within the walls of the paternity courtroom. Mr. McCrory had reason to doubt the paternity of one of his kids. To make things even worse, their marriage was on the verge of being over. Did his wife betray him again?
Mr. McCrory, after you and your wife received shocking results in this courtroom surrounding your daughter's paternity, you returned home and realized you have good reason to doubt your son, Keith's paternity. And now your marriage is on the rock.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now that was surprising. Looks like Mr. McCrory's wife might have stabbed him in the back once again. With all that cheating, they definitely need couples therapy. At least she admitted to cheating on her husband, so that's a good start. But what else lies in her world of secrets?
And she's claiming it's her brother, but the whole time we're together, he never comes over and he lives 2 blocks away. And then when I say that to her, she's like, oh, well, my friends are here, I gotta go, you know, we're just chilling, blah, blah, blah.
Interesting. So while you're taking that break or you're broken up, you admittedly slept with someone else.
Yes, I did.
Without protection.
Yes.
I'm not even going to hold my tongue on this, but Mrs. McCrory is one crazy lady. First, she admits to cheating. Now she lies to her husband, saying the man she cheated on him with is her brother. Wow, to that. Even after having unprotected sex, she still believes Mr. McCrory is the father of their child.
The fact is, it's his kid. 1,000% sure.
You're that certain.
Yes.
But you were also very certain when it came to Nevaeh. I remember this attitude. I don't forget. You acted just like this the last time you were in court about Nevaeh.
Yep, but it wasn't it.
And it was not.
No, it wasn't. People make mistakes. It's like,
they absolutely do.
They do.
And that's why we're asking you, in this instance.
She messed up the first time. What's to say she can't make the same mistake again? Even the judge finds it difficult to believe her certainty about the baby's paternity, but you can trust Judge Lauren to get to the bottom of any situation. She presses further and asks Mr. McCrory how he found out she slept with someone else.
And see, the thing is the potential father, she would promise him, say she'd send him pictures and stuff like that, but she said she promised me she wasn't sending him pictures.
What kind of pictures are these?
Your Honor, I have pictures that she puts on Facebook all the time that, you know, some of them are old, but some of them were recent. I mean,
let me see those, Ron, even though I'm not sure.
If I caught my wife posting those kinds of pictures, I would definitely want to end my marriage, believe me. The plot of their story thickens, as Mr. McCrory tells the judge that the man she slept with was their mutual friend. At this point, does Mr. McCrory even want to stay in the marriage?
This was supposed to be my friend and her friend. He comes over our house, he chills out, he would come to the house and drink with us and crash on the couch for the night.
And this is the person she slept with?
Yes, Your Honor. If she's lying to me and it's not my son, I'm not going to stay with her. I'm going to leave her. I mean, I'm not going to be with somebody who lied to me about my son.
So the stakes are that high?
Yes, Your Honor.
For him to be in the courtroom, let's just say he still cares enough to want to be in the marriage. When Mr. McCrory initially found out she was pregnant, he was very excited to be the father of the baby. Who wouldn't be? But the doubts just wouldn't allow him to accept the child with his heart and soul.
I mean, and I was excited when Keith was born. I've always wanted a son that I can give my last name to, that can share that bond of a junior, and that can pass that on to his son.
The truth is, because she did have unprotected sex with somebody else, it's possible that this little boy is not yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's been eating away at you.
Yes, Your Honor.
That was quite dramatic. Who knew Mrs. McCrory was such an emotional woman? Her tears weren't going to stop the case from moving forward. Mrs. McCrory just wasn't ready to believe that there could be another possible father to her child. Even though she cheated, she was beyond certain the child belonged to her husband.
Because everything didn't turn out the way you thought with Nevaeh, then you come back home.
Yeah, because I feel bad that I don't know who her dad is.
And that case, you feel like affected the way your husband feels about your son.
Yes.
And that's upsetting you.
Yes, it does.
You know, I would think that way. I mean, like I said, like in the beginning it was positive, this one, but there's other options.
Her beliefs and certainty meant nothing to Mr. McCrory. He was filled with so much doubt about who the father of the child was. His doubts got so bad that he asked Mrs. McCrory to take a lie detector test. The results from that will leave you speechless. Take a look.
You admitted that you did. Ms. McCrory, you were asked if you had sexual intercourse with the other possible father of Keith Jr. other than the 2 times you previously admitted. You said no. The lie detector determined you were being deceptive.
What?
Wow, an absolute wow. Mrs. McCrory has been lying to her husband about almost everything. She still believes she's telling the truth. Hilarious. Well, let's take Mr. McCrory out of the seat of his wife's lies and betrayal. What DNA results are in stock for him? Is his marriage going to be saved?
Mr. McCrory, you are the father.
Yeah, I told you so.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm happy for you. You have a beautiful little boy, you have Nevaeh, and you're married. For better or for worse, this may be your worst.
At least she didn't deny the fact that she was intimate with more than one man. Ms. Bryson was in court to prove to the defendant Mr. McCarroll was the father of her child. Due to her admission of sleeping with another man, Mr. McCarroll wasn't ready to accept her child. Could there be more to their story?
Ms. Bryson, you have dragged the defendant, your ex-boyfriend, Mr. McCarroll, into court today because although you admit to having sex with more than one man, you are here with proof that Mr. McCarroll is the father of your 18-month-old son, Zylan McCarroll. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
There is definitely more to their story. Ms. Bryson wasted no time telling the courtroom that Mr. McCarroll was a cheat. She claimed she wanted nothing more than to get married to Mr. McCarroll, but for some reason he just wasn't ready to tie the nut with Ms. Bryson.
I wanted us to get married, okay? And he doesn't want to do that.
Yes, I tried
Because
to
he wants to be a whore.
I tried to structure everything about my life to make it where we would never have to be here in this situation, where she would never have to worry about who her baby daddy was or none of that crazy stuff. I was
He
trying
don't
to
never
work
take
and
blame
go
for
to
anything
school.
that he does, Your
So-
Honor.
He must be one hell of a savior. Mr. McCarroll accused Ms. Bryson of putting him in an uncomfortable situation where she had no idea who the father of her child was. Does she not really know who the baby daddy is?
They cheat together. They do everything
never
together, okay?
in my-
They do
never,
everything together. He
never.
was
Well,
with
wait a
her.
minute.
True.
I want to go back to the part where you said you can't even read a book.
Yes, no, ma'am. I was reading, I believe it was Rick James' autobiography some years ago. As you can imagine, that is a very interesting book.
Wow. I do not want to find myself married to any of these two. Their marriage was nothing short of a train wreck. I see them and I find myself asking, did they ever love each other? Anyway, Ms. Bryson wasn't ready to pull the brakes on her accusations. She still insisted Mr. McCarroll was a cheat, even though he kept saying he wasn't.
He touching on me. And I tell him, don't do that. But while I'm separated, I do love him with all my heart. Everything in me loves him. I want all my kids to be his, okay?
I can't tell.
So you were with another man
Yes, I was.
in a
I'm hooked, though.
relationship,
No, I
and then Mr. McCarroll came over and touched you, and then
Yeah.
Is
you
that
got
easy?
pregnant.
That's the,
Right?
I braided
Thank you.
The case hasn't even gone halfway, and the word cheating has already been mentioned 100 times. You don't need me to say it. They definitely aren't a good fit for each other. But Ms. Bryson was hurt by the whole situation. She blamed Mr. McCarroll for making her cheat with so many guys. Was it really his fault, though?
When I got pregnant with him, I was with someone and I broke up with him, and I told the other guy why I was breaking up with him, because I didn't want to hurt his feelings.
And I can see that that really just upsets you.
I wanted to have a family with him. I wanted to get married to him. Like I said, I've been with him since I was 18. I love him. Any man I ever talk to know that I love him.
I don't know about you, but Ms. Bryson might be right to blame Mr. McCarroll for her misdeeds. Even though she had been with other guys, she knew for a fact that Mr. McCarroll was the father of her baby. As to what evidence she had, here's how that played out in the courtroom.
Calendar,
Yes, ma'am, that's a conception calendar.
okay?
Based on that calendar, I conceived my son on April the 28th.
In blue is the date you were intimate with Mr. McCarroll.
Yes, ma'am.
Actual
And
date,
now
I want to
in
know how
pink-
you know that.
You have outlined the window of conception that you calculated.
4 different pregnancy tests coming out as positive? Oh, she was pregnant, all right. As much as she believed Mr. McCarroll was her child's father, Mr. McCarroll claimed he had no memory of being intimate during the period Ms. Bryson claimed to have conceived the baby.
Nonsense you over here
Yep,
testifying
but I'm
to.
gonna make it-
What I want to understand is you want to try to downgrade her in this courtroom, but she been with you on and off, having your children for 10 years, and her life has not improved at all. I want an
It's not
explanation.
my fault.
No.
There's about to be a game changer in the courtroom. Judge Lauren asks the other potential baby daddy to come into the courtroom and give his 2 cents about what really went down while he was intimate with Ms. Bryson.
No, I do not, Your Honor.
Why?
Because at the same time she was with me, she was messing around with him. Lost my train of thought just thinking about the stuff.
It makes you upset.
Yeah, because I found out that she was messing around. So she told me she was 99% sure that he was the father. It's a possibility that I could be.
Boy, did he have a lot to say. Ms. Bryson was cheating on him too? I am speechless. It's the last lap, and the DNA results for both men are sitting pretty with the judge. Who's the father going to be? My bet is on Mr. McCarroll. Am I going to be wrong?
Mr. Perkins, you are not the father. Mr. McCarroll, you are not the father.
Man, case closed. I ain't got no more to say. Say no more. Man.
Well, obviously,
They both weren't the father? Wow. It's a disappointing day for Ms. Bryson, and you can see it written all over her face.
So I obviously got pregnant in May.
Is Zylan McCarroll's father? Do you know?
Yes, ma'am. I obviously got pregnant in May. I thought I got pregnant in April. I was real early, so I know who it is. I was trying to have a son, and I wasn't thinking.
Who were you trying to have a son with?
Initially, I wanted one with him, but he wasn't ready. Like I said, I had to beg him.
Ms. Baylor had a brief sexual relationship with Mr. Childs, at least so she put it, and the result of the encounter was her daughter. At first, Mr. Childs accepted paternity and was open to being the father of her child. But that ship sailed when Mr. Childs' wife convinced him otherwise and said the baby could not be his.
Miss Allen, you say that after a brief affair with Mr. Childs, you discovered you were pregnant with your daughter, Ms. Baylor. You say Mr. Childs acknowledged paternity until his wife convinced him otherwise. You intend to prove that Mr. Childs is, in fact, your daughter's father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Baylor was pretty direct. I'd give her that. She was asked why Mr. Childs was denying her and her baby, and her reply was sharp. She claimed he was denying her child because of his petty wife, and she had her hands wrapped all around his decisions. But Mr. Baylor came to the rescue in defending his wife.
After a football game, and he wanted to ride with me. And so we went on and had drinks or whatever. And then that's when we had sex.
Is this the night you believe you conceived after the football game and the drinks?
Yes.
Was this the only time you were intimate with Mr. Child?
We just did it like maybe a couple times after that.
Now, Ms. Baylor found out she was pregnant. From her recollection, she claimed that when she found out about the baby, she told Mr. Childs that there was a possibility he could be the father of her baby.
How did the story go in your assessment?
Your Honor, listen, wasn't no, hey, listen, I'm trying to get at you or anything like that. No, never that. It's just a moment that happened. So I even asked her, you know, once I found out, I heard she was pregnant, hey, are you you supposed to be pregnant by me? Oh, I don't know. I don't know if it's yours or not.
As I said, they both had different stories as to how they remembered the whole situation. Mr. Childs claimed when he found out she was pregnant, he reached out to her and asked her to get a DNA test done if she believed the child was his. After that, she disappeared and didn't even tell him when she gave birth.
If you say he might be the father, why are you in court today saying that he is the father?
Because I was messing with him first.
How do you know?
From the, what you mean, how do I know that? I had to go through the drama with Miss Johnson. Up and down the road, she following me.
There was a reason she had been quiet all this while. She was a loose cannon, believe me. Mr. Childs' wife was tired of listening to Ms. Baylor speak, so she decided to drop some truth bombs of her own in the courtroom, and they were not funny at all.
That was somebody that I wasn't even messing with him. This was something that came
Why
about.
would you test someone you aren't messing with?
Because
she was fishing.
He came out and asked me, and he said, you know, I was messing with your mom around the time. I wanted to get a DNA test with you.
Okay, someone reached out to you.
Yeah.
Ms. Baylor's daughter was one hell of a smart young lady. She wasn't going to wait around for her mother to tell her who her biological father was. It's not like she knew anyway. She reached out to Mr. Childs and spoke to him about her being his daughter, and the sweet thing was that he actually didn't deny her.
But you weren't informed of
I
any
met
of this
her.
till you were 14.
No, ma'am, I met her. I sat down and talked to her at Miss Allen's house.
I never denied that he
Then why
never
wouldn't you
tried
tell her? Why wouldn't you tell her that?
I felt like I never saw this man in my life. Like when people was telling me when I was 14, I'm like, I don't know nobody named
remember,
TJ.
but
I
he
don't
did.
remember him.
Mr. Childs was not a bad man after all. She actually made several efforts to meet Ms. Baylor's daughter when she was much younger. Well, guess what? He actually did meet her, but the problem was Ms. Baylor. She just wasn't being very truthful with her daughter.
Trauma
It
with
mattered
her.
to you. You can't
So
say that.
I went on with my life. I took care of her by myself.
So, Ms. Allen, you never in the court system pursued a DNA test, nothing.
No.
All right?
Your Honor, she just made me feel like she wanted me to be the father by name. So if someone asked her who Shy's father was, she could say me.
Well, it's time we brought the cartoons down on this plot twist, wouldn't you say? It was time to find out the truth and know if the craziness was all worth it. The moment of truth is here, people. Brace yourselves for the result.
Mr. Childs, you are not the father. I'm very sorry, Miss Baylor.
It's okay, Your Honor. You know, at the same time.
It's okay.
Mr. Cleveland wasn't ready to listen to whatever his wife had to say. He'd been having so much doubt in his head about who the real father of his kid was. Trust me, this tale of betrayal and dishonesty will leave you speechless. Grab your popcorn and enjoy the show.
Miss Cleveland, you say your 18-month marriage is in jeopardy because your husband denies he's your son Hunter's biological father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have no doubts, and you are desperate to prove he is the father and save your marriage.
Yes, Your Honor.
Their marriage wasn't a bed of roses. It had gone through all the baggage of zero trust, disloyalty, and even an affair with the husband's friend. You could even say there was almost no saving the marriage at this point.
There's that thought there that he is not mine, and that makes a person really emotionally upset. There are times that I'm holding him and I look at him and, I don't see me in him, and I have to set him down and walk away because it's just, it's
He is
too hard
only
to
1.5
handle
years old. He has a whole life to grow and to get more features that resemble my husband.
Yes, he does, but
He is so young.
This couple's marriage was hanging by a thread, and Mr. Cleveland was willing to let it all end if he found out he wasn't the father. Now, how did they get to where they are right now? I bet you want to know. Well, it started with Mrs. Cleveland having funny texts on her phone from someone who wasn't Mr. Cleveland. Ow!
okay, so the text and everything behind my back isn't cheating. I consider that cheating.
What are the texts behind your back?
Like sexy messages, like I miss you, I love you, you're so handsome.
And you're right about that. You're right about that.
Wait, who are you sending those texts to? Your husband, I hope.
No, because my husband didn't treat me like a husband.
You could see it all over Mr. Cleveland's face that he'd been dealing with a lot of doubt. His mind was clouded with so much suspicion as he claimed she was a serial cheater. But did Mrs. Cleveland deny it? Of course she did.
Cheater. I didn't cheat on you.
Who are you texting?
He was an old friend of mine from school.
But isn't that cheating of some form? Isn't that
it
at
is.
least
It is,
emotional
John.
cheating?
I was ready to call it quits. I was ready to wash my hands with the whole situation. I was ready for a divorce. He finds out that I kissed this guy and he wants to be husband of the world, you know? He wanted to be a perfect husband.
The courtroom was turning into a meltdown, with both Mr. and Mrs. Cleveland wanting to rip out their throats. Mrs. Cleveland gets pregnant and she tells her husband their craziest things. A month after she finds out, she says the baby might not be his and it might be for his friend. What? I would definitely lose my mind.
You are not. That is not true. I told him the first month I was pregnant that it could be his or his friend.
Now.
Wait, what? Hold on, don't just gloss over that. You told him a month. What did you say?
I was a month pregnant and I told him it could be his child, but it could also be his friend's because me and his friend had a sexual relationship.
No, she didn't, Your Honor. Otherwise, I would not have stuck around through that pregnancy if I knew.
No one could understand how she ended up sleeping with her husband's friend. Of course, she tried to defend herself by saying her husband wasn't treating her right and she felt he didn't love her anymore. But who was she kidding, right? The deed had already been done and there was no taking it back.
So let me just ask you the obvious question. How do you end up sleeping with his friend?
His friend was giving me a different lifestyle. He was cleaning my lifestyle up. I was involved in church every Sunday. I wasn't out running the streets like I was with my husband. At the time, I was doing something with myself.
I'm sure the question that's popping in your head is if they got back after all. Mrs. Cleveland did. Well, I'm sorry, but somehow they managed to work things out. But that guilt? It went nowhere. It was sitting pretty in Mr. Cleveland's head like a crown on a king.
He married me a month before my son was born.
Well, so at that point, I mean, you all look happy.
We were.
We were, Your Honor. We really.
And when you see that picture, Miss Cleveland, it makes you
It hurts me inside because that's not at all how we are anymore.
We're looking for, I don't know, we need to get some answers. We need to get to the bottom of this.
Well, the suspense is finally over, and the hassle of who the dad of their child is about to be revealed. It's been a bumpy and funny ride with Mr. and Mrs. Cleveland. All eyes are on the judge as she unleashes the truth.
Mr. Cleveland,
Yes, sir.
you are not the father.
I thought so. I really thought so. I mean, I see it. I mean, I strongly looked at a lot of pictures and made myself want to believe that he was mine, but I just knew he wasn't.
Some women come into court with the most bizarre of accusations. Even then, they manage to knock you right off your seat. That's just the case of Ms. Lewis trying to trap her childhood crush, Mr. Milton, into a paternity battle. Why? because she's obsessed with him.
I feel like she's been plotting on me ever since then. Like
Since you were kids?
Yeah, 'cause you know what? Ever since I was younger, I always had somebody else in my life. And she always came around. She knew that. I always had somebody else, but she always wanted to be around, calling me, coming over.
Okay, so you believe she's been pursuing you?
Yes.
And that was part of her plot?
As soon as she got the opportunity, she got it.
Mr. Milton starts his testimony by confessing how Ms. Lewis has been stalking him since they were children. Whenever some new love interest showed up in his life, Ms. Lewis would be there to make things worse. But Ms. Lewis says that she only found him cute and never chased him that way.
So when you were in other relationships, you say Ms. Lewis used to always come around?
Always
Were you coming around, Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Coming around for what? Trying to
No,
be with him?
it was my
Trying to
family.
be with me. She
My
was trying to
family
be with
was
me.
close with his family, and he know his mom loves me, and he know how close his family is with me.
Judge Lauren then asks them if they were ever in a romantic relationship, and it's clarified that nothing like that ever happened. But the shocking revelation comes when Miss Lewis says that her girlfriend encouraged her to sleep with a man so they could raise a newborn together.
The opportunity presented itself, or either you created the opportunity to go over and see him, and you all have unprotected sex. Is that the testimony?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it was sex one time, or how many times?
First time it was one time. Then after the baby was born, of course, you know, we was getting a little more familiar, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it was more than one time.
According to Mr. Milton, Ms. Lewis told him she was pregnant the very night they slept together. But then Ms. Lewis says that she didn't tell him until 2 weeks later. And even then, she went to share the news with his mama first, and she seemed pretty over the moon about them having a kid together.
How did you find out Ms. Lewis was pregnant?
She came over to my mother's house with a sonogram, and
She had a sonogram when she
Yes.
came to your mother's house?
Yes.
2 weeks after you had
Yes.
sex with her?
I saw a little baby, black and white, in a sonogram ultrasound. That's what she said. Then she said, "Don't the baby look like you?" I ain't got no face in that. How the baby look like you?
At first, Mr. Milton was happy about the pregnancy. But then the doubts started creeping in when Ms. Lewis' girlfriend called his mother. Guess what she had to say? That Ms. Lewis was married to some African guy and that they had been sleeping together. Even Judge Lauren is confused at this point.
You were married to another man?
Yes, I was.
Okay, so were you having sex with that man as well?
No, Your Honor. She was mad at me at the time, so she called Mr. Milton and told.
She didn't call me. She called my mother. Let's be
Same
real.
thing.
So
Same
how old was Desire?
Young, very young. You know, like I was really trying to be there.
At this point, the judge asks Miss Lewis what's the deal with this secret husband. She says that she married him when she was young. She wasn't making the best decisions then. Or is she just coming up with excuses to portray herself as innocent here?
If your partner calls his family and says, now you know she has a husband, and if his testimony that he saw a sonogram, an ultrasound at 2 to 3 weeks is true, and you also had a husband, then he is very confused about the paternity.
Eventually, Mr. Milton's girlfriend, Miss Daniels, is asked to give her testimony. She says that Miss Lewis is just attention-seeking, and that every time she comes over, she's just there to create a mess. She's not really concerned about her daughter. So, will the DNA results prove Miss Lewis wrong?
Mr. Milton, you are the father.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I had to know. It's my right. It's my right. You planted seeds of doubt. You planted seeds of doubt. It's my right to know. You planted that.
Okay, look. Just take a minute and take a breath.
I told you.
Mr. and Mrs. Peebles should have known they won't be getting a happy ending when they married each other on April Fool's Day. Now, Mr. Peebles is in a pickle. He's wondering if he's really the father of their daughter, or has his wife been making a fool of him all these years?
In the beginning, you know, everything was cool, she was nice, but then to come to find out she's very conniving, bossy, insecure.
So you say you feel like a fool?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you set out to fool him, Miss Peebles?
No, ma'am. He fooled me. I've been taking care of this man for 4 years.
Turns out, before these two tied the knot, things had been as smooth as ever. But it was their marriage that revealed Mrs. Peebles' true mask to her husband. Once her true colors showed, he realized she wasn't as nice and cool as she led him on to believe.
This is just like a stopping point right now.
Now, he claimed I was cheating on him, which I'm gonna be honest, I did. It's because he cheated on me first.
How did you find out about all this?
So on my birthday, she dropped me off.
Incorrect, he drove my car. So I got picked up to go to this party, which I met the other guy.
The biggest blow came when Mrs. Peebles already made plans on the day of Mr. Peebles' birthday. What kind of woman doesn't take out her own husband for dinner on his big day? According to Mr. Peebles, she had already made plans to cheat on him. But to do it on his birthday?
Of course, I was sleeping with him, but I used protection with this guy.
Okay, you say you use birth control, you use a condom. Well, we know that's not 100% effective. Is that the only time you slept with that guy?
Maybe a week after that, but like I said, protected sex.
1 week after?
Yes, Your Honor.
Even Judge Lauren takes Mr. Peebles' side and sees why he might be so suspicious of his wife and her whereabouts. But the worst part is that Mrs. Peebles didn't just betray her husband once, she did it again a week later. And although she says she used protection, that doesn't erase the doubts.
When you find out you're pregnant, who do you tell?
Mr. Peebles.
You know, I'm super excited. This gonna be my first child. And I get to thinking like, dang, almost 2 years of being together, unprotected sex, never got pregnant until you go outside the relationship and come back, and now you pregnant.
The audacity of Mrs. Peebles to point fingers at Mr. Peebles. According to her, she was just cheating for revenge because Mr. Peebles might try to show himself as an innocent man in court, but he's not free from sin either. So what made Mr. Peebles doubt in the first place?
Oh, so you took another man's money to pay for the man you live with?
Yes, but he making it seem like I'm the bad person when he up here talking to other women and got a baby on the way. We married now. Your baby due is 2 weeks before our baby birthday. And you still talk to her. And she your friend on Facebook, but your wife can't be your friend on Facebook.
Things really started spiraling when Mr. Peebles talks about the stranger who showed up at his house. At first, he suspected Mrs. Peebles was sleeping with him. But then she tells the entire court that this unknown man helped her with bills. Why did she marry Mr. Peebles then?
Still been sleeping with him, coming in 8:30 in the morning.
That was
Come on
only
now.
twice, but he comes in 4 or 5
It doesn't
o'clock
matter, but-
every night, Your Honor.
Miss Peebles, are you pregnant now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you know who this child's father is?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know.
It seems like that even Mr. Peebles has his fair share of issues, but it doesn't justify all the bad things Mrs. Peebles did to him. Sure, she takes care of him, but losing your husband's trust is the worst possible thing. Can the results mend their marriage?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Peebles, you are the father.
Now take care of your responsibility. Help me out. Start helping me out. I ain't dumb. And you making it feel like I'm the fool. I'm deceiving you. You deceived me from day one.
Mr. Meyer and Ms. Fisher are about to engage in one of the craziest paternity court battles to date, where Ms. Fisher claims that she was ready to leave her single life behind and start a family with Mr. Meyer. He thinks that all she did to him was break his heart and cheat.
After having our first son together, we lived together for about 3 years. We found out that after the new year, we were gonna have a second son. He decided he didn't want anything to do with me. I ended up living with another family member, just to better our lives.
Now there's a child being dragged into the middle of this psychotic drama. In the beginning, these two had a seemingly happy family. They even had a kid together. They had been living together for 3 years, but the moment Ms. Fisher got pregnant again, things became worse than before.
She got pregnant with Xavier. She's cheated on me multiple times. I came home, I found my mattress flipped over. I came home, I found multiple people in my bedroom.
I want to be clear too, you all were in a relationship.
Yes, Your Honor.
At first, Mr. Meyer only doubted the paternity of the second child. But with time, when he saw evidence of Ms. Fisher sleeping around, he began to think that the woman he was in love with hadn't been telling him the truth. But then why did he never take a DNA test in 3 years?
If he thought for some reason that one of these children were not his after 3 years of having the first one, would you not take a DNA test from initially?
I asked you how many times about a DNA test?
When you found out Ms. Fisher was pregnant, did you believe instantly this wasn't your child?
I had serious doubts this kid was my child right when she told me.
One unfortunate day, Ms. Fisher found Mr. Meyer crying in their room. She says she felt concerned for him, but then he told her to leave immediately. Turns out the poor man was trying to cope up with the fact that she had been going behind his back. So, how did he react to her pregnancy?
My neighbor told me some guys crawled out the window. Who was that? Who crawled out the window?
I would like to know myself.
Oh, well, you were there, obviously. I mean...
Your neighbor told you someone was crawling?
My neighbor said, hey, is your house broken into? I'm like, I don't know, I can go check. I don't think. Why would my house be broken? He said, I seen somebody crawling out of your window. I said, really? So I go run over to my house. Nothing's gone or nothing like that.
Hold up, though, because things truly start going south when one day, when Ms. Fisher comes to pick up Mr. Meyer from work, he tells the court that her entire hair was covered in bodily fluids, And that can only happen if she was off doing the deed with someone else. Is that why she was so late?
This is what his doubt is based on. Were you with someone
She admitted
else?
she cheated on me that night. She was so messed up and partying all night. I'm guessing she didn't understand or remember that.
This night is a
Probably
part
more
of
than
his
one guy.
imagination. I'm frustrated, I'm overworked, I'm tired.
Eventually, Mr. Meyer admits to the court that after he separated from Ms. Fisher, he realized how much he missed his first son. He practically raised that boy for 2 years, but he was 100% sure that the second kid didn't belong to him. Even just seeing him made him tear up.
Because I have never left that house, not only for one day, but not especially for a week. So I know for a fact.
Not true at all. You claim she was at her mom's or wherever. I was taking care of Michael. What do you mean you never left for a week?
She visited us 3 times total, one being the birth of Michael and 2 other visits.
Then Mr. Meyer confesses that sometimes Ms. Fisher wouldn't be home for a week. Who knows what she was up to? No wonder Mr. Meyer ended up having so many doubts. What really devastates him is that even his first son might not be his. Can the results help him break free from Ms. Fisher?
You are the father.
You have anything you would like to say to your son?
I just feel terrible right now, and I will be taking care of him.
Mostly, women try to battle it out on paternity court with accusations of cheating and lying. But there's a special case with Stephanie. It turns out she's gone full psychotic, and she's here with one claim, that a ghost is the father of her child, Xavier.
My son needs his family. He calls her Nana, and she's been in his life. We need answers. He has nobody.
Okay, let's keep it real, please.
Heartbroken, confused.
But why? I just make me understand one thing. Why didn't I know about you?
I don't understand why you didn't know about me either.
Okay, that's not an answer.
Long ago, Stephanie and Georgie were living their happily ever after. And then they had Xavier. Initially, George's parents, Mr. Long and Mrs. Brown, readily accepted the newborn child into their family. But now, they're saying that Stephanie's making up lies about dating Georgie.
Friends. It was like a sexual friendship that we had for so many years. Like
For 5 years?
Yeah.
So how did you find out
And
he
was he
passed
having a
away?
girlfriend? He had a girlfriend. I know his
Yeah,
girlfriend.
no matter who we were with, we still had sexual relations.
Right off the bat, things start getting pretty heavy between Mrs. Brown and Stephanie. On top of that, Mr. Long has a story to tell too. He proclaims that while Georgie was alive, he showed him a picture of Xavier, asking if there was any resemblance between the two. For them, Stephanie showed up out of nowhere.
There's other people in the neighborhood must be saying something because he came to me after 2 years. He brought this to my attention. It went over my head.
You told me that he looks like all your other grandkids.
My grandkids are biracial.
But that's what you said. He has Georgie's nose.
My
and
grandkids are biracial. I don't want to look at this baby and see something that's not there.
It's very confusing to understand whether Stephanie's telling the truth or not. She doesn't even have her side of the story straight. According to her, she was in a relationship with Georgie for 5 years. But when Judge Lauren asks if Georgie ever met Xavier, she can't provide a clear answer.
You know, he didn't. He just wanted to know if the baby
When did you
was
tell
dead.
Georgie? When did you tell Georgie you had a baby?
When the baby was 5 months old, Georgie came to me and called me and said, "Your son has my note." And I said, "Oh my God,
He came
you
to
are
you and
right."
said-
he
said
said,
that?
"Your son has my note."
Just out the blue.
Yeah, when the baby was 5-6 months old.
Amidst all the confusion, while Georgie was still alive, he ended up having a change of heart. He and Stephanie decided to get a home DNA test done, but before that could happen, poor Georgie passed away in a motorcycle accident, and the specimen expired. That explains why they're hoping Judge Lauren gives them the answers.
So there's one other man besides
How are you
Georgie.
telling me
Oh, it's one. So it's one other. You saying?
Yeah, it's him and the other
Oh, one
guy.
other man. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
Did you ever tell the other guy?
He had passed away when I was 5 months pregnant.
Oh.
He had got murdered.
Looks like Bad Luck is friends with Stephanie because even though she's come to court to prove things, both potential men are dead. You can't raise a baby with a dead daddy, Stephanie. While Georgie's family has been compliant for the DNA test, the same can't be said for the other family.
I tell him Georgie's.
See, that's the problem.
What do you
that's
tell
the problem.
him?
That he watches his videos and I say, you know, that's daddy.
And he points to the videos and says, "Daddy."
He calls him daddy.
Because
Calls him
either
daddy.
way, Georgie told me no matter what the results were when he was alive, that he was going to be in his life.
Really?
Yes.
The heartbreaking fact is that Mrs. Brown spent 2 years trying to get over her Georgie's death. So it's very unfair of Stephanie to bring this up now. She could have done this before Mr. and Mrs. Brown still would have tried to raise Xavier. Can the results give these women the answers they need?
The percentage of relatedness between Ms. Brown and Mr. Long and Xavier Shimolinski is
0%. I'm sorry.
Here is persistent, that Mr. Hudson is the only possible father of her child. Even though she had confessed that she cheated on him, however, when paternity doubt hits once there is no going back.
You to believe you were her son, Jacory's biological father, then dropped a bomb and admitted she slept with someone else.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're in court to prove you are not her son's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Bridges, you admit to sleeping with another man, but claim that you have no doubt Mr. Hudson is your child's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
So let's dive into how this infidelity ride began. It turns out the mommy cheated on her man out of spite. Let's face it, no one wants to be taken for granted, thus revenge sex. The only down part is that now there is a baby out of such a wild night.
And so, Mr. Hudson, you say this bomb she dropped. When did she drop this bomb?
We had an argument, and that's when she came and she was telling me how I might not be the father and she had done these things. But I paid no attention to them because I am the father. I'm supposed to be the father. I'm here.
He was cheating on me back then, so that's the reason why I did what I did. So yes, I say he might not be the father, but I know he's the father of Jacory Hudson.
It appears the baby mama is operating on feelings rather than truly knowing that he is the baby daddy. The plaintiff was sure the connection her child shared with the alleged father was paternity proof enough. That's your testimony? His being there was his good grace, and it was not proof he was the baby daddy.
You understand that him being there has nothing to do with the biology?
Yes.
You do understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you admitted you slept with someone else.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, even in my time of deception, still stood there and took care of him.
Are you talking about the time of deception, meaning when you were deceiving her or she was deceiving you? Because both of you all had time of deception.
Up next, let's get the other guy in the courtroom. Well, Mr. Davis started when he found out about baby Jacory via Facebook. Nonetheless, since mommy needed clarification about the timeline, the other potential father also wanted a paternity test.
Miss Bridges met, we hung out for a couple of months. We ended up having unprotected sex around about 3 times. I didn't know that she was pregnant at all until I looked on Facebook one day, like a year later, and I see a picture of her son. And immediately I think her son looks like my nephew. About a year after that, she came to me. She's like, oh, well, can you tell me the days that the...
So both men are up for playing the dad part, but their doubts were coming in the way, and because of this, poor baby Jacory was suffering in this limbo. This is a really tough one, guys. Time to find the truth.
Mr. Hudson, you are not his father. Mr. Davis, you are not his father.
Promiscuity and manipulation of his girlfriend had driven Mr. Lewis to the edge of a paternity dilemma, as he refused to believe anything coming out of the F plaintiff's mouth. The only thing convincing enough for him is DNA proof.
Ms. Lester, you opened this case against Mr. Lewis because you say he denies fathering your 21-month-old son, Raiden.
Yes, Your Honor.
Only because you won't have sex with him.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you want Mr. Lewis to step up after today's results prove that he is the father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Up next, there is mayhem in the court, as Mr. Lewis started calling names not maintaining the decorum of the court. It's not your backyard, sir. And we know that when such notes hit, it raises Judge Lake's schooling antennae.
Jatoya is a hoe.
Did I just say use respectful language in the court?
I'm sorry, but it's just what it is.
No. It's not what it's gonna be in this courtroom.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you look crazy because you're the one sleeping with her anyway, so you're not making a point.
Thank you.
You're only making yourself look dumber.
It appeared the man was desperate to wash his hands off this child. Reality check. You've brought this upon yourself by ditching the protection. And what made things more shocking was that Mr. Lewis had convinced his girlfriend to bear him a child. But now he was standing in the court, denying it all.
A baby with her while y'all were having sex, Mr. Lewis?
Never said that we was gonna have a baby. Not the first night that we reconnect, when we have sex.
But did you ever say it?
At the heat of the moment.
Right.
Guys say anything having sex, Your Honor. Anything.
Note to self. But if you were already having sex, why do you need to say that?
So guys, it's been established that people would say anything they want. I mean, take this for instance. Both partners had played their fair share of cheating each other, and who was paying for it? An innocent child. It's like how wolfish you can get.
I never thought
Yes, you did, because you kept saying, you ain't pregnant, you ain't pregnant. Yes, you did. Correction, yes, you did.
No, I
and
never
then,
thought you was playing.
the day I had my son, I did not call him because
he knew the day that I was having my son because I had to get a cesarean operation.
She's lying.
I didn't contact you.
You didn't contact me.
Okay, so what am I lying about?
You didn't tell me when you was having the baby.
Yes,
or none
I
of
did.
that. No, you
Yes, I
did
did.
not.
Here comes another twist. The compulsive lying of baby mama wasn't the only reason that made Mr. Lewis deny the child. It turns out the defendant had lost the ability to father a child because of an accident. Cherry on top of it was that Miss Lester was engaged to another man for almost 10 years, while mommy was claiming that her part-time lover was the father.
I've been shot multiple times to where the doctors have pumped so much medicine in my body, and they told me that I couldn't have kids at all.
And since that time, you haven't fathered any other children.
No.
And that's why you feel Raiden is not your biological child.
First of all, Your Honor, he doesn't even look like me.
Buckle up, people! Things are about to take an even crazier turn. At this point, it is impossible to tell who is telling the truth, but one thing is sure: this drama has taken up all my sanity. Luckily, Judge Lake knows how to set such records straight.
Mr. Lewis, you are not the father.
Following the cheating parade, we have baby mama suing baby daddy for half the child rearing expenses, while Mr. Lewis is playing the same old jingle. Baby is not mine, yada yada. I don't want to do anything with the child. With that said, let the trail begin.
And this is a picture of Connor on the left, and this is a picture of Mr. Hafner's grandfather, which is your father,
Yes, Your Honor.
on the right. And you say you truly see a resemblance.
Yes, Your Honor. On a scale from 1 to 10, that's an 11, and you compare our two pictures, and that's maybe a 2.
Ms. Kelso, I have to say, it's very interesting as I listen to this family testify, this young man.
Let's introduce another guy in this mix. Yeah, there were 2 guys, and it is no news that's how you end up in paternity court. However, Ms. Kelso had made her pick. The woman believed that Mr. Davis was the baby daddy because of the bond they both shared.
Child loves your child, and yet you're suing Mr. Davis.
I want to know who my son's father is. It's just sad that these people who have cared so much that they don't know the truth, and we're here to find out the truth because
We wanna know.
my son deserves to have a father in his life, regardless of the financial expenses. He deserves to have somebody who will play with him.
However, the other baby daddy, Mr. Hafner, wasn't ready to back down that easily either. The guy came all prepared. His evidence even had convinced that he was the father because baby Connor was the spitting image of him. But hey, we have seen this show long enough to know that looks can be deceiving.
You look at these pictures, Ms. Kelso, do you see more of a resemblance between your child and one of these men?
His nose looks like Jamal's. His eyes look like mine. His lips look like Richard. His hair looks like Jamal's. I just can't tell. They're so similar in different ways.
You are truly confused.
I am.
I can see it on your
absolutely-
face.
I'm just absolutely confused.
After all of that, it was time to pop out that conception calendar, and it showed that the plaintiff was going to and fro between both men at the same time, which made pointing to the father without a result very hard. If you ask me, Mommy's testimony seems more emotional than rational. Well, the heart wants what it wants, I guess.
Be Richard, but I'm almost certain that it's Mr. Davis's.
Well, I wish it was a matter of preference. Are you ready for the results?
Absolutely.
I cannot rule on your lawsuit until we know if, in fact, Mr. Davis is your child's biological father, because you understand that if he is not, he has no legal obligation to financially support him.
So people, we know when infidelity gets established, there is no point in asking the same things again and again. This surely was an emotional ride, but it's finally reached its end. So it was about time to get that envelope.
Mr. Hafner, you are not the father. Mr. Davis, you are the father.
While I was pregnant. Take care of my other 2, and I'm gonna take care of my 3rd.
High school love, all sunshine and rainbows. It's more like you are the daddy, and no, I'm not. Okay, I admit I got a little carried away with that, but so did these young people, because their coziness produced a baby.
Ms. Hawthorne, you are here today because you say your high school sweetheart, Mr. Brown, is a smooth-talking deadbeat who got you pregnant 3 years ago and is now denying your baby. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Brown, you say Ms. Hawthorne is a desperate liar who will say and do anything in order to have a family with you.
It seems that Mr. Brown was not just deadbeat, but also a compulsive cheater. What made things worse was that he had no shame about his game. FYI, his excuse of cheating wasn't doing him any good either. No, we are not exaggerating. Watch for yourself.
And you say everything was going fine?
Yes, until he
what?
started cheating on me.
You started cheating, Mr. Brown?
Well, Your Honor, we was living in two different parts of the city. So she was living in the suburbs and I was living in the city. At the first beginning of the relationship.
What does that have to do with cheating?
A year of online dating led us to this moment in this paternity court. Quick note, all of you parents out there, keep your eyes on the children playing online. Public service message from Dr. Film. Anyway, coming back to the matter at hand, baby daddy claims to have done the deed only once in 2014, denying the baby mama's claims of going back and forth.
After you met online, did you meet up?
A year.
So it was a year?
Yes.
And then you say you lost your virginity to this man who you met online.
Yes.
Note to all the parents in the gallery whose high school kids are playing online.
Your Honor, we only had sex one time, and that was in 2014 in August.
Nah.
That only one time. We wasn't going back and forth. I wanted to continue to.
Okay.
Up next, the guy's girlfriend was introduced into this crazy equation. And taking it up step further, it got revealed that the baby daddy in question had slept with his girlfriend prior to sleeping with baby mama. Wow, that is brutal. Does he have no moral compass?
Before I came to her, I had sex with my girlfriend.
What? Okay.
You had sex with your girlfriend before you came to see Miss Hawthorne?
Correct, Your Honor.
This doesn't make any kind of sense.
And I missed my period in January. So, like, we were having sex around the end of November, beginning of December of 2015.
This is a shady situation.
After this judge called in the plaintiff's mother, who had been playing the father of the child, the grandma demanded that it was about time that the defendant stepped up to take care of his child, as every child deserves a loving, doting father. And that's the part where we conclude the confusion with the result.
Mr. Brown, you are not the father.
Is that a joke?
No, not your child's biological father.
But I didn't have sex with nobody else.
New fears were unlocked, as Mr. Brown was recently informed that he has been living a lie that he fathered baby Colby. Even though he had full custody, he was afraid that this revelation would separate him from his son, and his assumptions were right because Miss Stewart wanted to get her ex back.
Miss Stewart, you admit you kept the secret from Mr. Brown, but claimed the truth is the truth. And the fact is, you were secretly cheating on him, and you appear in court today to prove that the other man is the father.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Brown, tell us, what's at stake for you today?
Everything's at stake, Your Honor. My whole entire family knows him as theirs. I have two grandmas that have Alzheimer's.
So when the judge asked the plaintiff what was at stake for him, Mr. Brown told the court he could risk losing the kid, as his whole family took him as their family. And if his mother takes him away, it will ruin his life. And he can provide for the kid more efficiently than the mother.
So, Mr. Brown, tell us, what's at stake for you today?
Everything's at stake, Your Honor. My whole entire family knows him as theirs. I have two grandmas that have Alzheimer's that know him as their grandsons. My 14-year-old son knows him as his little brother. My house is a more stable home for him. It's a place where he's taken care of, and I know it's the better thing for him.
However, when the judge asked the alleged daddy how he found out about him not being the father, Mr. Brown told the court that after separating from him, Mommy left the kid at his place trying to move out, but instead of coming to pick Colby up herself, Miss Stewart called in the cops on him.
So what happened when she brought the police to your house?
You know, by that time, I'd already talked to one district attorney and 3 police officers who told me the same thing that I already knew, that by law, I did not have to give him back due to the fact I signed the paternity affidavit. I was on the birth certificate, and the cop that she brought was probably the only one on the force she could get to side with her.
So the guy was even on the birth certificate. I mean, why wouldn't he be playing the daddy part this long? But Miss Stewart was not ready to do that easily. She was in paternity court to take the child with her for once and all.
I was on the birth certificate, and the cop that she brought was probably the only one on the force she could get to side with her. And he came and told me it was in my best judgment that I give the child back. And I asked him if it was in my best judgment, or if by law I had to. And he said in his opinion he thought that I needed to, but there was nothing he could do about it. So therefore I asked the officer to please leave my residence.
Baby mama was so addicted to the court that she knew long enough that the plaintiff was not the father and kept putting off the truth so she could be with him. But since they were separated, there was no reason to hide anything.
Why did you wait so long to tell him? Like, why not tell him before so he would have never had the child in the first place?
Your Honor, I really truly believe that my son was Mr. Brown's. Because at that time, yes, I went to another friend to comfort me. Because at this time, Mr. Brown and I had decided to take a break. So I went in that time and talked to a friend like I always do.
This was a paternity mess. Still, the judge was hung on the part that if Miss was sure about the other guy being the father, or if she was doing all of this out of spite. Because we get that a lot in this reality court, don't we? And this is how the defendant responded to the question.
Comfort and friends, and one thing led to another, and my son was conceived June 13th. So honestly, when my son was born, my son did look like Mr. Brown, and it looked like the son of his family. So that is why I have withheld, because I was happy, I was in love with him, and the fact that my son was going to be raised up in a good...
After that revelation, the judge moved to Mr. Brown to ask how he took the revelation, as I am sure he would have never seen this coming, and the plaintiff testified the same. In Mr. Brown's exact words, he was dumbfounded. Who wouldn't be?
I've lost a lot of sleep. I've shed a lot of tears over this whole situation. I mean, I'm the only thing that my boy's got.
When you first got the news from her and she dropped this bomb on you, did you say, I want a DNA test? Did you think to get a DNA test?
Yes, Your Honor. I called DHS and talked to them, and they informed me that I needed to call Child Support Recovery, because that's who does the DNA test. And
Colby's only chance at fatherhood was the guy at the podium. If he steps down, mommy will have no one to turn to. Nonetheless, the only result can determine how things will go down.
Mr. Brown, you are not the father.
I told you. I told you. All right.
Ms. Graham is desperately trying to prove to her on-again, off-again fiancé, Mr. Scott, that their 4-year-old daughter, Taylor, is his biological child. But you know the drill, folks. Mr. Scott is not convinced. He's throwing shade left and right, saying the timeline for conception just doesn't add up. And folks, things are about to heat up.
Are here to prove to your on-again, off-again fiancé, Mr. Scott, that your 4-year-old daughter, Taylor, is his biological child. You say his paternity denial is destroying your relationship, and you need today's results to save your family. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
According to Ms. Graham, Mr. Scott's paternity denial is tearing their relationship apart. They're planning a wedding, but these paternity doubts are like a dark cloud hanging over their heads. And Mr. Scott, well, he's adamant that he's not the father, pointing out every little detail he can to prove his point.
Your Honor, I asked her for a test over and over again.
Okay, but take me back. How did we get to the point where, okay, will you marry me? Yes, I will. But we need a DNA test. I mean, how do we get from being engaged and being happy, planning a wedding, to all of a sudden this DNA thing looming over our heads?
Because I want to move on with it, but not if Taylor Rose is not my daughter. I don't want to move on.
So if Taylor's not your biological child, you're not getting married.
Mr. Scott just dropped a bombshell. He straight up says that if Taylor is not his biological child, he's not walking down that aisle. Talk about a plot twist. Ms. Graham is shook, to say the least. The stakes are high, folks. This wedding is hanging by a thread, and it all comes down to a DNA test.
Produce this paternity question.
It was him. I know the night that I conceived. I definitely know the night I conceived. We went down to Orlando. We got a room. We had sex for about a week, nonstop. He knows exactly which weekend I'm talking about.
Your Honor, that's
it's like after I got pregnant, like I said, he just flipped the script.
Your Honor.
Were you engaged during then?
Yeah, no, we were engaged before then.
Woo! So apparently, Mr. Scott was onto something. Ms. Graham reveals that during their on-again, off-again relationship, they were getting down and dirty with no protection in sight. Mr. Scott is throwing accusations left and right, questioning every move Ms. Graham made during their tumultuous relationship.
When you count back, you're saying we were off then and not having sex then.
We was way off then, Your Honor, way off.
So when you saw it, what did you do with the information?
I didn't say anything to her about the paperwork until she approached me about about being pregnant.
So what happened when you approached him, Ms. Graham? What did you say?
I approached him because this was like my first time being pregnant. This is my first child.
Ms. Graham is looking pretty guilty right now, but she's standing her ground, insisting that she knows the night she conceived Taylor. She even paints a picture of a romantic getaway to Orlando with non-stop bedroom action.
There's so much stress to my pregnancy, so much unnecessary stress.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Did you break up during the pregnancy?
We just separated before the pregnancy and we got back together. We were always on and off again, so the timeline is a little sketchy, but we did break up several times, but the bottom line is we never stopped having sex throughout this entire thing.
Your Honor, ask her this.
Yep. Just when you think things couldn't get any crazier, Mr. Scott drops another bombshell. He reveals that he found paperwork indicating Ms. Graham was 6 weeks pregnant before she even told him. The plot thickens, folks.
Is undoubtedly my child.
I just wanted to have time. I had just graduated. I just wanted to have time for myself to see what my options were before I had him. Once I did make the decision to keep the child, I brought it to him. You know, I was very afraid. Like I said, I just had graduated. My life is just beginning to take off. I did not know if I wanted to take on the stress or hardship of being a parent at that time.
Ms. Graham is hurt and betrayed by Mr. Scott's denial, while Mr. Scott is adamant that he's not the father. It's a classic case of he said, she said, with a wedding hanging in the balance. Will the DNA test reveal the truth, or will this couple's relationship be torn apart forever?
Mr. Scott, you are not the father.
Thank you, Your Honor. I already knew I wasn't.
Jerome, can you go see if you can try to get Miss Graham?
So, next up is Ms. Fain, who's here to prove that her estranged husband, Mr. Geeter, is the father of not one, but two of her children. Talk about a double whammy. She admits to cheating, but claims she was a careful cheater. Sounds like a ticking time bomb.
Your estranged husband today. The first is to prove that he fathered your 4-year-old son, Antoine Jeter, and the second is to prove he fathered your 2-year-old son, Kingston Jeter. You testify that you may not have been a faithful wife, but you were a careful one, and you are positive he is the father of both children. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Geeter is 100% certain that he's not the father of these two boys. He's calling his wife out, saying she's trying to pin these babies on him just because they're still legally married. The drama is already heating up, folks.
But you are still legally married?
Yes, we are.
How did you meet? Take me back.
We met back in 2010. We did meet over the chat line.
You start dating, and then you were in a committed relationship, ended up getting married.
Got married after my daughter was 4 months old.
Okay. And then somewhere along the line, paternity questions.
Yes.
Oh, snap. Ms. Fain spills the tea, revealing that she's been raising these boys alone, and it hasn't been easy. She's had her life turned upside down, with her car even being taken away because Mr. Geeter hasn't been helping out. Talk about a tough situation.
So, Ms. Fain, you were cheating on your husband?
Yes, I was.
Why?
Pretty much, I got married early, and I just wasn't interested in Drew anymore. So I started cheating.
And so, Mr. Jeter, is this the only time you caught your wife cheating?
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Things take a spicy turn when we find out that Ms. Fain wasn't exactly the picture-perfect wife. She admits to cheating not once, but twice. And Mr. Geeter, well, he's caught her in the act both times. Looks like we've got another cheater in the courtroom.
Did you find out she was pregnant?
Couple of weeks to a month.
So take me to that day when you found out she was pregnant.
When she called and told me that, she was pregnant, my only response was DNA test. I don't want to take care of nobody else's child. I'm sorry, I don't.
We was having sex, unprotectedly.
Unprotected, but you also had the affair during that time too, right?
Yes, protected. I was protected.
As the story unfolds, we learn that Ms. Fain and Mr. Geeter met on a chat line back in 2010. Fast forward, they get married, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Ms. Fain confesses to cheating because she felt like the spark had fizzled out in their relationship. This is getting juicier by the minute.
Separated. I moved back to Memphis. Once this second incident happened, I took my butt back home,
So Antoine is 4. Have you developed a relationship with him? Do you have a relationship with him?
I would be honest about that.
No, Your Honor.
No, I really don't have
Not at all.
relationship with him.
He's acting out. He don't listen. He don't have a father figure in his life, and he needs his dad.
Mr. Geeter spills the beans on how he caught his wife cheating not once, but twice. The phone rang, there was silence on the other end, and bam, the truth came out. But hey, they worked past it the first time. Can lightning strike twice in this relationship?
I think that's more devastating,
Is it going to be more devastating than if they end up yours and you are the father and you've missed 4 years of connecting with him, and the child is acting out because he has no father figure and he thinks you're his daddy, but he thinks you only come for his sister and not for him?
Well, I admit it's not fair, but you know, it's just the hand I was dealt right now.
Now here's where things get really interesting. Ms. Fain finds out she's pregnant, but Mr. Geter's response? DNA test. He's not about to take care of someone else's child. Ms. Fain drops another bombshell. She had not one, but 2 affairs during the window of conception.
You brought your girlfriend with you. She's sitting here supporting you. She's been with you for 4 years, but you got a 2-year-old son potentially with your wife.
Yeah,
now, what
right.
kind of mess is this?
You're right, hey. It was a hot mess. I agree, you know.
So, Mr. Jeter, I think this is a good opportunity and a good time to hear from your girlfriend.
As the case unfolds, we see the emotional toll it's taken on both parties. Mr. Geter tries to be there for the pregnancy, but Ms. Fain's sneaky ways make it difficult for him to trust her. The tension between them is at fever pitch, and it's time to put it all to rest with the DNA test results.
Mr. Jeter, you are the father.
Told you. I already know.
You are the father of Antoine. What do you have to say?
Now I'm hoping he can be in his son's life.
Do you want to be there for your son, Mr. Jeter?
Yes, I do. I'm not one to turn my back on my responsibilities, you know.
The Carmens have been together for a whopping 27 years. That's a long time, folks. But things aren't all sunshine and rainbows for these two. Mrs. Carmen is here to prove that her husband is the father of their 4-year-old daughter, Rone Zaya. Mr. Carmen, on the other hand, is adamant that he's not the daddy and has some bombshell evidence to prove it.
Your 4-year-old daughter, Ronasia, but you plan on proving paternity today, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Carmen, you say when the DNA results reveal that you are not Ronasia's father, your marriage is over. You claim to have bombshell evidence that proves another man is the daddy. Is that correct?
That is correct.
The tension is palpable in the courtroom as Mrs. Carmen lays it all out. She's been through the ringer with this paternity issue, and she's not backing down. But Mr. Carmen isn't having any of it. He's ready to drop the mic and walk away if the DNA results don't go his way. It's a high-stakes game, folks, and the fate of their marriage hangs in the balance.
Yes, I love all 5 of my children by this one woman. I'm right here with this woman.
And I'm right here with you, and that's your daughter.
And I don't have no kids nowhere else. I have nobody nowhere else. And I've been doing my job in my house.
And so you are in the home together now.
We are.
You're married.
Yes, we are.
You once had, obviously, a wonderful relationship. You've been together 27 years.
As Judge Lake digs deeper into their relationship, we learn that things weren't always rocky for the Carmens. They had a fairy tale beginning, going out, having a great time, and starting a family. But somewhere along the way, things took a turn for the worse. A separation, a boom boom room, and a yard sale later, and here we are. It's like a soap opera, real life.
Party house?
It's a party house.
With women?
With women.
And everything else?
And everything else.
Jerome, you been to a boom boom room?
That's why they call me Jerome Boom Boom Hamilton.
I learn new things every day in this courtroom. So, Mr. Carmen, you got yourself a boom boom room during the separation?
That is correct.
The courtroom is buzzing as Mr. Carmen spills the tea on the infamous Boom Boom Room. Yes, you heard that right. During their separation, he turned his place into Party Central, complete with women and who knows what else. Mrs. Carmen wasn't having it, though. She kicked him out, sold his stuff at a yard sale, and that was that. Talk about a wild ride.
And I had to go and do me.
So you got yourself your own boom boom room?
I got myself my own boom boom room, and then he found out about it.
Hold on, you skipped the part. So during this time when you got yourself your own boom boom room, how many guys were you dating?
Oh, just one, Your Honor.
Just one man?
Oh, yes.
But wait, there's more. Mrs. Carmen suspected foul play and sent a spy to check out the Boom Boom Room. Can you believe it? She paid someone $100 to infiltrate the party house and report back. It's like something out of a spy movie, but with a lot more drama. The lengths people will go to in the name of love. Am I right?
You back together, your family's together.
That is
and
correct.
Then between 3 and 4 years old, you get these text messages on your phone.
Yep.
And the first text message says, "Thanks for being a stepdad."
No, that was the highlight of the text.
Oh,
that,
the highlight.
That was the highlight of the thanks for what? Y'all jiving. Okay, so then we'll move right along. Make sure it stay up there. Step aside so Lakeisha and my cousin can be together. Blah, 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 blah. What?
As the truth comes out in the courtroom, emotions run high. Mrs. Carmen is fighting to save her marriage, while Mr. Carmen is ready to walk away if he's not Ronezaya's father. It's a classic he said, she said situation, but with a lot more at stake. Will the DNA results bring closure or tear this family apart?
Mr. Carmen, you are the father. Oh, Jesus. Oh, hold on.
I told you.
Ms. Commons is here to prove that Mr. Baker is the father of her 2-year-old daughter, Brez. According to her, he's been denying their daughter and refusing to take responsibility. But hold on, Mr. Baker has a different story to tell. He's throwing some serious shade, accusing Ms. Commons of cheating and questioning the paternity of little Breeze.
Commons, you claim the defendant has been denying your 2-year-old daughter Breeze and refuses to do anything for her. You are furious and testify that you are certain he is the father and plan to prove that today. Is that correct?
Yes, Shauna.
Mr. Baker, you claim you were a loving father for the first 1.5 years of Breeze's life until 5 months ago when you appeared in couples court and learned Ms. Commons cheated.
Ms. Commons is getting emotional, sharing how much Breeze adores her dad and how he's been a part of her life since day one. She even mentions how they have this cute nose-rubbing thing that they do. But Mr. Baker is ice cold. He brings up Ms. Commons' past infidelities and is sure that he's not the father.
First, he'll say, go over there to your mama. He know how my baby is affectionate. My baby got a skin fetish. She like to rub on people. So that hurt my feelings when he be like, go to your mama. And she be like, I want you. And he be just saying, go to your mama. Go to your mama. Why are you telling her to go to her mother and she wants you? She know what she want. It makes me emotional because she loves us. Like, she rubs our face. She rubs our ears. The way she rubs his face, they got this little nose thing that they do.
The tension is rising as Ms. Commons recalls the moment she told Mr. Baker about her pregnancy. She thought he would step up and be a father, but things took a turn when she revealed that she had been unfaithful. Mr. Baker's doubts started creeping in, and he began questioning the paternity of Breeze.
All right, listen. Take me to the point you find out she's pregnant with Breeze. When you find out she's pregnant, do you accept it? How does she tell you?
Like, when she told me she was pregnant with Breeze,
we found out together.
I was like, is she mad? You feel me? How you know that? You've been messing with other guys, you feel me? Which I noticed and don't caught it and seen it on numerous occasions. I was like, well, I don't know, but if she is mad, you feel me? I'm gonna be there for you. I do wanna be a good father to my kids.
Things just got a lot juicier. Mr. Baker drops a bombshell about a weekend getaway where he decided to test Ms. Commons' loyalty. He pretended not to want to see her, but in his head, he was planning to go over, oh, the games people play.
How could you explain a good night because she sat there and said, I cheated? Oh, it's a good night.
You didn't leave the room?
Where's the good night at?
He didn't leave the room, did he?
It was painful.
He still slept with me that night. Okay, hold on. Still drunk?
You feel me?
Right. So if you told her about the situation.
Ms. Commons is not having it. She's calling out Mr. Baker for his behavior, questioning why he would test her like that. The tension between them is palpable, and it's clear that there's a lot of unresolved issues between these two. Will the truth finally come out, or will this case take an unexpected turn?
You say she dropped the bomb, number 2, which was that she had slept with somebody else.
Yeah.
Tell me what happened.
We chilling in the hot tub, jacuzzi and everything, and after Blue just came, I cheated. Hold on.
No, Jan, that's not what happened. I can tell you exactly what happened.
She like, I cheated, I stepped out. So I'm looking like, when you do it? I asked her, like, when? She talking about, I don't even remember what date, but it was too close to when Breeze.
As the court proceedings continue, emotions are running high. Ms. Commons is adamant that Mr. Baker is the father of Brez, while Mr. Baker stands firm in his belief that he's not. The DNA test is looming, and it's going to reveal the truth once and for all.
Y'all's in that little tit-for-tat mess. I say it all the time, it never works. And we as women, we never win. Never. Because we always end up with the baby, and it's always our baby and Papa's what?
Maybe.
Yep. We gotta stop playing that game. We don't win. We lose, our babies lose. Why play? So we're here.
The moment of truth has arrived. The DNA results are in, and the tension in the courtroom is palpable. Will Mr. Baker be proven to be the father of Breeze, or will Ms. Commons' worst fears be confirmed? The judge is about to reveal the results, and we're holding our breaths. This is the moment we've all been waiting for.
Mr. Baker, you are the father.
Get a hug. I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm happy with the result.
We've seen a lot of cheaters today, folks, but this next one is on a whole new level. Mr. Walls, who's accusing Ms. Walker of being a serial cheater. He claims that after a short time apart, he caught her with someone else's hands in her cookie jar. And guys, things are about to get heated.
A short time away from Ms. Walker, you caught her with someone else's hands in her cookie jar.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you say Ms. Walker is a serial cheater and there is no way you are her child's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Additionally, Mr. Walls, you claim you lent Ms. Walker your car to help her with her child and she never gave it back, so you are suing her for $2,500.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Walls spills the tea, revealing that he lent Miss Walker his car to help her with her child, but she never gave it back. Now, he's suing her for $2,500.
We started going out there, you know, spending time by the water. I felt it was romantic, you know. And so,
Ms. Walker?
Yes, Your Honor.
He seemed like he was a gentleman courting you. You went out with him?
Yes, Your Honor.
It was a good relationship at first?
It was good in the beginning until I found out I was pregnant. When I found out I was pregnant, I told him, but he talked about he wanted a DNA test. He said that he saw me in the car with another guy.
As the case unfolds, Ms. Walker fires back, calling Mr. Walls a sweet-talking liar. She's adamant that he's the father of her 3-year-old daughter, Adriana, and she's ready to prove it.
But not in a relationship. So when she told you she was pregnant and it was your child, you had doubt?
Yeah.
Your Honor, when I told him I was pregnant, and he had said, well, I need to take a DNA test because he said he didn't trust me.
But she admitted to cheating, though. Because when I was gone for them 30 days, she admitted to cheating.
Did you admit to cheating?
No, Your Honor.
The judge digs into their relationship, and it turns out it all started with Mr. Walls trying to catch Ms. Walker's attention by the street. Persistence pays off, right? They hit it off and even had romantic dates by the water. But hold on, things take a turn when Ms. Walker drops a bombshell.
I'm glad you said it and not me. No, seriously though. So the point is you thought she meant I'm dating someone else.
Yeah, she had to been because, shoot, when I come up her street one day, I'm in a different car, I come up her street one day and I see this blue Crown Victoria parked in front of her house. I see 2 silhouettes in the car. I seen a silhouette.
Is this what you brought? You brought an exhibit over here?
That's what that is.
Ms. Walker reveals that when she told Mr. Walls she was pregnant, he wasn't exactly thrilled. He demanded a DNA test because he claimed he saw her in a car with another guy around the same time she got pregnant. Uh-oh, trouble in paradise.
Leaning over kissing the guy.
Step back over to the podium, sir. Thank you for that description.
Number one, Your Honor, the car wasn't in the driveway. The car was in front of my house. And he told me.
So you admit it, right here, the car was in front of your house.
Right, in front of my house.
And you was in the car, right?
I admit that, but I'm not about to admit
car.
that I was cheating because I was not cheating when I got.
Was there a man in the car?
Guess what?
Mr. Walls doubles down on his doubts, insisting that Ms. Walker admitted to cheating while he was away for 30 days. He's convinced that there's no way he could be the father of her child. The tension in the courtroom is palpable.
You know, I'm kind of complicated, but I was working it out.
You were in transition.
We can call it that.
Okay, so bottom line is you weren't really claiming either woman.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
But Your Honor, he was.
But you just making circles around her house 3 times checking to see what she doing.
Well, see, she said she's pregnant by me. I was just making sure her well-being was okay.
Ms. Walker vehemently denies cheating, stating that the person Mr. Walls saw her with was just a family member. But Mr. Walls isn't buying it, and the accusations fly back and forth like a game of verbal ping pong.
Is he on the birth
certificate? Why I wasn't at the birth?
His name
Let's not get there.
No.
Let's not get there why I wasn't at the birth. Let's get that together.
He came after I had a baby. He came at 7 o'clock that night.
You called me 7 o'clock that day.
No.
Your Honor, this woman called me. She called me and said, I had the baby. I said, when did you have the baby? She said, yesterday. I said, Dominique, it's 7 o'clock.
I was in
7
labor.
o'clock. She didn't call me till the next day.
He was ready, Ms. Walker. Why didn't you call him?
I called him.
So it seems like both parties are sticking to their guns. Mr. Walls is adamant that Ms. Walker's a serial cheater, while she's standing firm on her claim that he's the father of her daughter. Who will come out on top in this courtroom showdown?
And one thing leads to the next. I'm on the pool table.
Oh,
we did not use
operating hours?
Huh?
No,
it wasn't.
No, club that I had belonged to, you know, as a member, you can have a key to the bar.
Okay, the baby was conceived on the corner pocket. So, any other doubt that you've left out?
All my other kids, I had symptoms. You know what I'm saying? I woke up, I'm feeling like I'm puking up a little bit. I'm feeling a little nauseous.
As the case reaches its climax, emotions run high. Mr. Walls presents evidence of seeing another car parked in front of Ms. Walker's house with 2 mysterious silhouettes inside. Could this be the smoking gun that proves his suspicions?
Closeness or their cohabitation with a woman. So they may feel it more if they live with the woman or if they identify more with the pregnancy.
And you all weren't living together when she was pregnant, right?
Right.
What bearing does it have on paternity? Any?
No, I'm sorry. No, it doesn't.
I'm sorry, Mr. Walls.
I mean, you know,
Mr. Walls, for your other 5 children, were you living with the mother at that time?
Yeah.
The tension in the courtroom is at an all-time high as the judge prepares to deliver her verdict. Will the DNA test reveal the truth, or will this case remain shrouded in mystery?
Mr. Walls, you are not her father. Ms. Walker, I gave you an opportunity, at least 5.
Well, I apologize. I'm sorry.
3 years. 3 years. Do you know who her father is?
Yeah. Violence is never the answer. But hey, who doesn't like a good fight? And it might not be the UFC, but paternity court has had its fair share of nasty bouts. So we start off with Ms. Mitchell sharing her heart-wrenching story about losing her mother to breast cancer. She's here today to find out if Mr. Jordan is her biological father.
Ms. Mitchell, you say you met the defendant, Mr. Jordan, in a courthouse when you were 7 years old.
Yes.
And he was taken to court for child support.
Yes.
You claim he denied paternity testing at that time and claimed you as his daughter and began paying child support.
Yes.
And surprise, surprise, Mr. Jordan is sure that he's not the father. He recalls meeting Ms. Mitchell when she was just a little girl in a courthouse. He stepped up to the plate, paid child support, and even considered adopting her. But he's always had his doubts, and he's here today to set the record straight.
And say, hey, that's okay, we don't need a paternity test. And I told her, I say, I'm your daddy, baby, right here. And I took on that responsibility, okay? And I paid her mama $400 a month.
And she was 7 years old.
She was 7 or 8. Her mom wanted me to adopt her, so I changed my living conditions, bought bedroom furniture, got a...
The courtroom is buzzing with emotions as Ms. Mitchell expresses her disappointment in Mr. Jordan for not being there for her. She recounts instances where she felt neglected and unacknowledged by the man she believed to be her father.
Did you have doubt in your mind, though, during that time?
I've always had doubts, ma'am, but it was nothing I could do about it.
He never
'cause
tried
I
to be a father.
I had accepted the fact that I had a one-night affair, thank you, ma'am, with her mom one time, and after that, I never saw her again.
Thank you for telling me that. I appreciate
for
that.
7
Thank
to 8
you
years.
for
okay?
having that image in my head.
As the story unfolds, we learn about a failed attempt at bonding over car repairs that ended in a freeway fiasco. Yes, you heard that right. Ms. Mitchell's brakes came off on the highway after Mr. Jordan's coaching session. Talk about a wild ride.
I was scared. I didn't know what to do. So I had to sit up there and figure out how to get off the freeway without crashing into the wall. So I grabbed the
You still here?
Mr. Jordan!
Yeah, what?
That's dangerous, you know that.
Hey.
The courtroom is divided as Ms. Mitchell and Mr. Jordan share their contrasting perspectives on their relationship. While she longed for a father figure, he claims she only reached out when she needed something. The tension between them is reaching its peak, and we can't look away.
I was 7 years old. I remember sitting on a bench and the judge asked me, do you know who your father is? I said, no. That's when he came up and said what he said about, well, I'll be her father. And that's when I was like, okay, well, you're my dad. So I'm thinking he about to start coming over. I'm about to be with him so we can start spending time with each other.
As the judge delves deeper into their past, we uncover the complexities of their relationship. From a courtroom encounter at 7 years old to failed attempts at bonding, the story takes unexpected twists and turns.
He told me to call him Jordan.
Is that true, Mr. Jordan?
I tell everyone to call me Jordan, except her.
So that's his daughter.
Your daughter.
So I raised this one like that.
So that's his daughter.
So why is it that she can't call you daddy too?
I'm not
not your daughter?
I don't know.
You know what I feel as if the reason why you're
He didn't show at my wedding or
you
anything.
create such a distance between her is that you just have that doubt.
The tension in the courtroom is palpable as the judge prepares to reveal the results of the paternity test. Ms. Mitchell and Mr. Jordan hold their breath, waiting for the moment of truth. Will their lives be forever changed by the outcome?
Mr. Jordan, you are her father. What do you feel, Miss Mitchell?
I guess I just want him to treat me better as a daughter.
Okay.
Ms. Cotton claims that Mr. Pendleton's meddling mother is stirring up trouble by denying her 5-month-old daughter, Love Cotton. She's confident he's the father and is ready to set the record straight. On the other hand, Mr. Pendleton and his mom are adamant that he can't father children.
Miss Cotton, you say Mr. Pendleton's meddling mother is the reason he is denying your 5-month-old daughter, Love Cotton. You claim you are 100% positive he's the father and plan to set the record straight today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Cotton is fired up, telling Mr. Pendleton to stand up and take responsibility like a grown man. She's convinced that little Love is his spitting image, but Mr. Pendleton is not buying it. He's throwing shade, saying the baby doesn't look anything like him.
Like, my daughter looks exactly like him, and I really cannot figure out how he denies her.
Your Honor, she don't look nothing like me. She don't got none of my features, my nose, my mouth, my eyes, nothing. And on spite of that, I've been in a relationship for 8 years prior to this, and I tried for 6 years to have a baby and couldn't. So,
but he thinks my daughter looks like his father, so what are you talking about?
Hold on to your seats, folks, because Mr. Pendleton's mom enters the ring. She's not here to play nice, warning her son not to get attached to the baby until he knows the truth. Shots fired. Ms. Cotton fires back, saying her daughter doesn't need them if they're going to deny her. It's a family feud on paternity court.
Your Honor, one, we'll start with the meddling that she says I'm doing. The only thing I've done is tell him, do not get attached to this child until you find out whether or not she's yours. I told him I didn't want him to bring the baby around me for the same reason.
But I didn't want my baby around you anyway. She has a whole family that loves her.
The courtroom is buzzing as Mr. Pendleton drops a bombshell, claiming that Ms. Cotton told him the baby might not be his. Uh-oh. Ms. Cotton defends herself, saying she only slept with one other person, and it was protected until the condom came off.
The court records say that your child was born in December, right?
Yes.
Right.
All right, so December, and you count back, landed April at 9 months.
I carry her 38 weeks and 4 days.
And so that means that you believe the timeline is off from when you slept with the other guy?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But you did have sex with someone else, and was it protected or unprotected?
It was protected until he took the condom off.
Mr. Pendleton is not convinced, questioning how Ms. Cotton can be 100% sure if there was a slip-up with protection. He's playing detective, trying to piece together the timeline, but Ms. Cotton stands her ground, saying the baby is his because she looks like him.
And I actually took the pregnancy test at home. I told him. Then when I went back to the hospital and they gave me the 8 weeks, I told him that as well. And the way it was confusing how they did with my ultrasound, and they had my due date all mixed up because
I've been confused the whole time.
So
I don't know what's going on.
As the courtroom drama unfolds, Mr. Pendleton's mom reveals that she's been through thick and thin with Ms. Cotton, even helping her during tough times. But Ms. Cotton is not having it, saying her daughter has a whole other family that loves her unconditionally. The claws are out.
So, Ms. Cotton, were you doing the back and forth because he was making you angry?
I told him one time, yes, that it probably wasn't his because he was making me mad. Like I said, he had
You're
a
100%
whole nother
sure.
girl, and you were really playing games my whole entire pregnancy.
How am I playing
But
games?
you
still
know.
acting like if Love come back that she's yours, we gonna be together. What about last night?
I'm gonna be there with her.
The tension reaches a boiling point as Mr. Pendleton and Ms. Cotton go head-to-head over the paternity of little Love. Ms. Cotton is standing firm, saying she's been taking care of her child regardless of the doubts thrown her way. Will the truth finally come out?
Mr. Pendleton, you are the father.
He is so fake.
Mr. Pendleton, it really does look like you have tears in your eyes. This meant something to you, right?
It did.
Miss Spruill here is absolutely fuming because Mr. Dixon is denying that he's the father of her daughter, Skya. She's not having it, folks. She's here to set the record straight.
Miss Spruill, you are furious that you had to file a paternity case against the defendant, Mr. Dixon, due to his denial of your daughter, Skya. You say you know the exact night you conceived, and he is her father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Dixon, you need that her child is not yours. Is that correct?
Mr. Dixon, on the other hand, is standing firm in his belief that he is not the father. He claims their relationship was purely physical, and that one conversation is all the proof he needs to deny paternity. Uh-oh, this is shaping up to be quite the showdown.
Too, Your Honor, I want to say this too. I have doubts that this is my child. Why? Because Kamaya is constantly lies.
Oh, wow.
She even lies about this baby. It was a time when she was pregnant. She said I slipped and fell in the tub.
You texted me to the hospital.
You texted me saying you in the ER the whole entire time, but once I'm on the phone,
His
you in the living
sister
room,
took me to the hospital.
giggling, laughing, playing with your son.
Ms. Spruill is not holding back. She's calling out Mr. Dixon for flip-flopping on whether he's the father or not. One day he's in, the next day he's out. She's had enough of the back and forth, and honestly, who can blame her?
Alabama, when his daughter was 1 month old, to say he was working. He wasn't working. He was not working.
I
you
moved
want to
to
know
Alabama to get a better job.
Oh, no.
To make more money.
All Our
but
daughter,
it's constantly lies that's coming from her.
One at a time.
Our daughter, it wasn't even 7 months. Mr. Dixon had a whole nother child.
And here comes Mr. Dixon with his doubts about being the father. He's got a whole diagram ready to explain why he's not convinced. Apparently, a coworker dropped a bombshell claiming that the baby is actually his brother's.
Then my daughter just disappeared.
First of all,
no
John,
pictures, no
them
nothing.
pictures were not on there when I moved to Alabama. Them pictures was up there before
Your Honor,
I moved
All
to
right.
Alabama.
You say he accepted the baby at first, and this is your evidence to prove it. So this is his page,
And that is my baby girl. That is Skya. And he had other pictures of Skya on there as well.
And you claim he's accepting her. He's made her
He was
picture.
he was so happy.
But hold up, Ms. Spruill is not having any of Mr. Dixon's doubts. She's firing back with receipts, showing that those supposed family members were just spreading lies. She's not here to play games, folks. She's here to prove that Mr. Dixon is the father.
He tells me we gonna be all right. We gonna take care of this baby. Everything gonna be fine. 2 weeks later, we let his mother know that I was pregnant. She pretended to be happy-go-lucky about it. But Thanksgiving, all hell breaks loose.
I want to know what happened on Thanksgiving.
Oh, everybody found out that I was pregnant. Everybody knew I was pregnant by then. Because at first, they were saying I was lying about being pregnant because Mr. Dixon kept telling them I wasn't.
And just when you thought things couldn't get any crazier, Mr. Dixon drops a bombshell of his own. He accuses Ms. Spruill of having 2 phones, one for social media and one for calls and texts. What's the deal with that?
Kamaya has 2 phones. She had one phone that she used to be on the internet, and she posts her whole entire life on Facebook. She has another phone where she texts and calls. She plays like she's 2 people on Facebook.
He has that
she
number.
done did
He's
this
not allowed
multiple
to have
times.
my main number. We have no communication because, like I said,
He's not allowed to have your main number, and he's the father of your child?
We're gonna go to why he can't have my main number.
Oh, and let's not forget the whole Alabama situation. Mr. Dixon apparently hightailed it to Alabama, claiming he was working, but Ms. Spruill ain't buying it. She's calling him out for having another child while they were still together. Yikes! Talk about a messy situation.
He's daddy of the year. Me and him fall out, Skya doesn't exist. And that's what infuriates me more than anything. I don't care how you feel about me. That baby didn't deserve that.
Why do you
My
lie?
baby did not deserve that. I don't care how you feel about me. That is a child. I know what it feels like to grow up without your daddy.
But wait, there's more. Ms. Spruill reveals that once Mr. Dixon was in Alabama, he was parading their daughter all over his Facebook, cover photo and all, the same child he's been denying. The plot thickens, folks. This is getting intense.
A Facebook is like a diary to her. If that baby was in the hospital, she'll post 20 or 50 doggone pictures
guess
on
what?
Facebook.
But you wanna know
But she
something
didn't
else?
post not one
Your
picture.
Honor.
Okay,
she didn't
wait.
post not nothing.
Why do you believe she would lie and say her child was suffering from a medical challenge?
I don't know. Maybe she's trying to get my
Your
attention.
Honor, how can you watch your child grow up through Facebook for an entire year?
And just when you think things couldn't get any crazier, Ms. Spruill drops the bombshell that Mr. Dixon was making babies down in Alabama. Making babies, people. The drama just keeps on coming in this courtroom. The question is, did he make this baby too? The DNA test results are in, and we're about to find out.
Mr. Dixon, you are the father.
Thank you.
You feel relieved, Miss Spruill?
I do.
How do you feel, Mr. Dixon?
I'm excited. I have a beautiful baby girl. I'm gonna be the best father I can, and I'm just glad the truth is out.
Ms. Davis is a young mom in desperate need of some help raising her 1-month-old son, Josiah. She's pointing the finger at Mr. Means, claiming he's the father and needs to step up. But hold on, Mr. Means is not having any of it. He's denying paternity faster than you can say deadbeat.
Ms. Davis, you say you and your grandmother are in desperate need of assistance in raising your 1-month-old son, Josiah, and you need the defendant, Mr. Means, to accept his responsibility. You both believe the only reason Mr. Means is denying your child is because of his fiancée. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Davis is only 19, while Mr. Means is a whole decade older. Now that's quite the age gap. But age ain't nothing but a number, right? Well, in this case, it seems to be causing quite the drama. Ms. Davis is not about to let Mr. Means off the hook that easily.
Ms. Davis, were you also having sex with his friends?
That is not true. And it wasn't just a 3-time hit it and quit it. He was actually staying at my house. He was eating there, sleeping there.
He was living with you?
Basically.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
And your grandmother?
Yes.
Mr. Means is coming in hot with the defense that he was never in a relationship with Ms. Davis. He's claiming she was out there mingling with multiple partners during the window of conception. Oh boy, this is starting to sound like a soap opera. Who's the real daddy here?
So you all are having the sexual relationship. You say it was more than 3 times.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long did this relationship last?
About 3 months.
3 months?
Yes, Your Honor.
And he would stay in the house with you and your grandmother?
Yes, Your Honor. I was not the only man that was going in there. It was 3 other people.
No,
Come
there
on
was
now,
not
you wanna
3
put it
other
out there, we
people.
can put it out
there
there
was
now.
not.
Nah, since you
the
wanna
time
get
that
real,
I
go get
conceived,
real.
no, the time that I
Anyway.
conceived.
Ms. Davis is laying it all out there, saying she shouldn't have to raise Josiah on her own. Grandma's even in on the action, backing up her granddaughter. It's a family affair on paternity court today, and things are heating up real quick.
I felt it was safer for her being there than in the street.
And so you said it was okay for her to have sex there than to be out in the street having it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I have proof
Come on,
of conception.
I
Can
would
go
like
the
to
board?
see that. That's the exhibit. Is that what
Yes.
you'd like to show me? Okay, let's do it.
Hold up, Mr. Means just dropped a bombshell. He's admitting to having relations with Ms. Davis, not once, not twice, but 3 times. Unprotected, no less. And during the window of conception, you betcha.
That's a no, that's a no, that's a no, that's a no.
Okay.
Come on now, baby girl. You talking about 2 men, you got 3, 4 other people you need to
No,
bring
that
up
is
in
not
here.
true.
Don't try
That
to
is
play me
not
like
true.
that.
So hold on. You
Trying
put
to
an
play me like
X
that.
on every month.
And you put an X on June. I
Is
wasn't
the
even
X
June.
for not having sex or the sex for extra sex?
But wait, there's more. Mr. Means is claiming he wasn't the only one getting cozy with Ms. Davis. He's throwing shade at her, saying she was playing the field. Ms. Davis is not having it, though. She's standing her ground and calling out Mr. Means for his alleged shenanigans.
Your testimony is, Mr. Means, that during all of these months, she was also having sex with her ex.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have proof of that?
I definitely have proof. He moved up to Georgia with them.
Is that
Back
your
and
proof?
forth, back and forth.
You got pictures, messages of it,
every
me
time
saying
y'all
that?
got into it, you called me and told me. Come on now.
Grandma's in the mix now, folks. She's spilling the tea on how Mr. Means was practically living with them, sleeping over, eating their food, the whole shebang. Things are getting awkward real fast. Who knew paternity court could get this messy?
Did you send these texts?
Yep, and there's a reason why I seen it too.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you.
What's the reason?
What's the reason why? Because at first, had a possibility of thinking it was mine, but after people telling me and what I was seeing, how she is, I knew that wasn't my child.
Hold up, did Mr. Means just admit to having relations with a girl 10 years younger in her grandmother's house? Red flags are flying everywhere. The audience is eating this up, and we're just getting started. Strap in, folks, because this roller coaster is about to hit its peak.
But were you also sleeping with Ms. Davis during the window of time where she conceived?
It was kind of on and off, Your Honor. It was maybe once a week, something like that.
So there is a possibility.
Your Honor, I was intimate with him, but it was not around the time of my conception.
Ms. Davis is not backing down. She's got proof of conception, and she's laying it all out for the judge to see. Dates, times, you name it. She's got it all mapped out. But Mr. Means isn't going down without a fight. He's got his own version of events, and it's a he said, she said showdown.
I never told you I was seeing 2 other guys. Are you serious?
Your Honor, that's what she told me. I'm not going to argue with this woman.
Whatever.
Okay.
I ain't mad at you, brother.
The bottom line
is,
No comment.
I'd like to know if you feel he is this child's biological father.
No, I do not, Your Honor.
You do not?
No.
Why?
For the simple fact that she had multiple partners.
The tension in the courtroom is palpable, folks. Accusations flying left and right, drama unfolding at every turn. But it's time to end all the fighting with the most powerful weapon in this courtroom, the DNA test results.
Mr. Pittman, you are not the father. Mr. Means, you are the father. I can tell by your reaction that was not the news you wanted to hear.
It is what it is. I just want to see my son.
Good. Have you ever seen him?
Never seen him. Never held him. Never been around him. Don't even really know his name. Don't even know nothing about him.
That's sad. And he's yours. And he needs his dad.
Mr. Morris is absolutely convinced that he's the father of the woman standing across from him. He's all in, heart and soul, ready to put an end to years of confusion. On the other side, we've got Mrs. Brister, who's not so sure about Mr. Morris being her dad. And let's not forget about Ms. Smith, the mom in the middle of it all, hoping for some closure. We might need a flow chart to keep track of all this madness.
Mr. Morris, you say you are 100% certain that you are the biological father of the 29-year-old woman standing across the aisle and want this court to put an end to years of confusion, lies, and doubt. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mrs. Brister, you say you don't believe Mr. Morris is your father and that you've been lied to by your mother, Miss Smith, regarding who is your biological father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Morris takes us back to the 80s, when he was a breakdancer with moves smoother than butter. He met Ms. Smith and knew right away that she was the one. Cue the romantic music. But hold up, there were suitors lining up for Ms. Smith like it was a buffet. Mr. Morris had to fight off the competition like a knight in shining armor.
But actually, it didn't happen until the following evening because I had to get my cousin out of the way because I was, by me being shy.
3 was company then?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Understood.
ma'am.
All right, so you all started a relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
How long did the relationship last?
About 3.5 years.
3.5 years?
Yes.
Was it a committed relationship?
Well, ma'am.
Fast forward a bit, and Mr. Morris and Ms. Smith are in a committed relationship. Or, so he thought. Turns out there were more suitors lurking in the shadows. Drama alert. But hey, love conquers all, right? These two lovebirds found their way back to each other after 14 years apart. It's a love story for the ages.
After how many years?
14 years to be precise.
14 years?
Yes.
And now you're back together?
Yes.
But there's still this paternity issue hanging in the balance.
Yeah.
Why? You say you were only with her. She said she was only with you.
I came back to town after hearing it from 3 different individuals that she was pregnant with my child at the time. And we stayed in 2 different towns.
But wait, there's a paternity bombshell waiting to explode. Mr. Morris hears through the grapevine that Ms. Brister might be his daughter. He rushes to Ms. Smith's town, ready to set things straight, only to be hit with the bombshell of all bombshells. Mrs. Smith tells him to his face that none of her children are his. Ouch. Talk about a gut punch.
So I left.
So how old was Ms. Brister at this time?
I would say she had to be 5, maybe 5 or 6.
So, Ms. Smith, you remember telling him that Ms. Brister was not his child?
Yes.
Why did you tell him that if today you're saying you believe she is?
He was trying to get back with me, and I didn't want to get back with him.
Ms. Smith, on the other hand, remembers things a bit differently. She wanted to keep Mr. Morris at arm's length, so she dropped the bombshell that Ms. Brister wasn't his child. But now, they're back together after all these years. Can they put the past behind them and move forward as a family?
This is just a timeline of some of the things that she's told me over the years. I've always known the man on my birth certificate to be my father. When I was about 16, Mr. Morris, he came to visit and he introduced himself as my dad. I don't remember the entire conversation that we had, but I do remember him saying that he was my dad.
Meanwhile, Ms. Brister has been living with the confusion of not knowing who her real father is. She recalls a DNA test as a child that hinted at Mr. Morris not being her dad. But then, she remembers Mr. Morris visited when she was 16 and introduced himself as her father.
The last point on your board, your exhibit.
Yes, like I was saying, it went back to normal for me that the man who's on my birth certificate was my father. And a couple of months ago, my mom, she told me that Mr. Woods, a guy who's deceased, that he could possibly be my father.
Ms. Brister lays out a timeline of the things her mom has told her over the years. From believing the man on her birth certificate was her father to Mr. Morris showing up and claiming to be her dad. Tempers are flaring, and it's a full-on battle of words.
I would be sued by Internal Revenue for child support. I had the papers looked at by a law clerk, and
So the bottom line is, while you were away,
yeah.
you were served,
Yes.
or you received the paperwork indicating that you owe child support.
Yes.
With all these revelations and conflicting stories, it's clear that this family is in for a wild ride. Will the DNA test finally put an end to the mystery, or will it only add more fuel to the fire? The paternity results are in, and the truth is about to be revealed.
Mr. Morris.
Yes, Sean.
You are not her father.
What?
I'm very sorry.
Can I hug my daughter?
Absolutely. Is that okay?
Sorry.
You can stand with your daughter, ma'am. Miss Brister, are you okay?
I am.